Hi guys, and welcome back to the How I Failed in Business podcast, where we're here to talk about your biggest business mistakes, from minor mess ups to major mistakes. Okay. I have failed in podcasts for 4 times now.
For the first time?
Yeah. Well, some would argue that I've actually never failed in podcasts and I'm doing a really good job.
I mean, if you listen to your birthday episode, I'm sure
there was a couple of little trips. Okay, well, that's all beside the point. We're all human, and that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm one half of your host, Sophia Grace.
And I'm the other half, Rob Spence.
And today we are joined by a very special guest, Tommy Martin.
Hello.
Tommy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm 32 years young, from Nottingham. And when I was, really going back even further than 22, when I was, very young, I always knew that I wanted to be successful. I always knew that I wanted to be, very well off financially. Mm-hmm. I wasn't necessarily too fussed about fame. But I always knew from, a young age that, money was a good thing and it needed to be acquired in great quantities. My physical environment around me, though, was, very traditional minded, 9-to-5 mentality, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so I didn't really have anybody around me that, was in business, was making things happen in a big way. And, when I was 22, I found myself in a situation where, I'm still chilling at mum's. I'm working an 8-hour-a-week job at Clark's shoe store. And at this point, I'd been following people like Robert Kiyosaki, I'd read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Yeah. I understood that I needed to be in business, but I had absolutely no idea of how to actually start that. In my head, I remember at the time, I was always thinking, business is super expensive to get into. I knew about franchises, but that was about it. I knew, you're looking at like anything from 5 to 7 figures to, depending on the franchise. And, I remember it was, the summer of 2014, and I was looking at my, my circumstances and my, my situation. I'm like, nah, there's got to be more to life than this. There's got to be a way that I can, create my own reality, escape the rat race, escape the matrix, whatever you want to call it. And, I ended up attracting, a post on Facebook from a friend of mine who, basically put up, anyone interested in making some extra money, drop me a message and reach out. Now, at the time, he was working at Virgin Media. So I thought he was, talking about, some potential jobs there. So, I commented on the post. I was like, maybe, what's all this about? And then this guy called Wade Smith popped up. And, he basically said he was going to, he said he was working with Liam, he's going to DM me. I thought, okay, that's amazing. Just a sidetrack. I believe in Leicester you have a donuts store. Is that right?
We do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wade Smith. I actually know Wade Smith from before he started Donuts. This is the guy who messaged me. But yeah, he's the owner and founder of Donuts. Obviously, I think he's now got like 8 or 9 stores around the Midlands. But yeah. Yeah, claim to fame. I knew Wade before he got big donuts. But yeah, at the time, him and my guy Liam, they were participating in a network marketing platform, which at the time I did not know what it was. I had no clue what network marketing was. I didn't know it even existed. And, I ended up, this is like August 2014, and I met up with Wade in Starbucks in Nottingham Market Square, and he basically, he showed me this plan of this business model, which, like I said, at the time, I knew about franchises, and when he showed me what it was, I kind of recognized it as being a much smaller, much more affordable version of a franchise, but still with the same income potential. And, when I saw what it was that they were doing, I was like, oh my God, like, how did I not know, about this? Literally, I'd never heard of network marketing before. I'd never heard of Forex trading. I'd never heard of crypto. It was still relatively young at the time, but do you know what I mean? Like all of this stuff, I'd never heard of it. And, I got started I got started in that industry eventually I got started in December 2014. And literally for 3.5 years, I made zero money, not $1, nothing. And, you know, looking back, you know, I'm very big on the, you know, the spiritual, the mental, emotional side of success first, before you participate in the, you know, the physical side of, you know, business success. Have you ever seen somebody like in business where, you know, they're kind of like, I don't want to say unprofessional, but like they're rough around the edges. They're kind of like drunkenly stumbling through what they're doing, but they're making it happen. And you look at this like they're so rough around the edges. How are they making it happen? And you know what I've come to learn, especially over the last 3 years, is it really is all about the inner game first. Yes. And if I could sort of like have my time again and go back, I would have spent a lot more time working on like my own belief system, my own thought processes, my attitude, my work ethic, that kind of thing. Because your work ethic is, although it's a physical thing, your level of work ethic does come from your perception of it on the inside. So, you know, when I got started, you know, although I could have conversations with people, I didn't have people skills. Yeah. I didn't know how to talk to people. You know, I didn't know how to effectively prospect, communicate, close. You know, all that stuff. And I always thought it was to do with, you know, what you had to say to people, you know, that kind of thing. But literally, I remember after 6 months, like, I wasn't discouraged by the lack of results. I knew it was going to be a process. I wasn't expecting it to be quick. But at the same time, after 6 months, it was like, okay, now let's try and start getting some points on the board. You know, I've been in this for 6 months now. And what happened was, and you know, and this is how backwards I got it. In my head, from kind of like the 6 month point onwards, I started to develop a belief system of, I'll believe I can build a team, build a network, you know, build a customer base when a few people start to join. Like, you know, see some physical results, and then that feeds into your belief system. Now, that is a way that you can build your belief system, but it's a dangerous way of going about it because you're relying on circumstances. You're relying on chance. You're not relying on your inner eye. You're not relying on the law of assumption, where you can create that belief, you can create that vision, and then it comes to you.
Agreed. Yeah.
I'm very big on, the law of attraction, the law of assumption. You have to see it in your mind first before you're going to get the results. And the thing is, like, the longer it went on of nobody joining, no sales, no enrollments, the longer it went on, the stronger this belief came and the more frustrating it became. And I remember about a year ago, I out of nowhere, I don't know where it came from, I ended up coining this phrase when I was having a conversation with a friend that was going nuts at me about something that I was actually pretty chill about. And I basically said to him, I was like, bro, your reaction is your point of attraction. And I was like, whoa, where did that come from, right? So I've realized that when you are reacting to your circumstances, you know, in my case, nobody joining, nobody signing up, no money coming in, because that frustration was like running deeper and deeper and deeper, that's my reaction on an emotional level. And so therefore I just kept on attracting more scenarios that were going to get me frustrated with the results. You know, it's like, most people live in this feedback loop where they're looking at the circumstances, what's going on in the outside world, expecting what's going on in the outside world to change what's going on in the inside. Yeah. It doesn't work. I mean, it can work like that, but then that's the problem with the feedback loop. You know, you see a bad result, it feeds into your mind. That then becomes an emotional response, which then, you know, gets sent out to the universe, and, you know, you just keep attracting more of the same. Yeah.
And I notice that with a lot of people. You always notice those that say, I'm the luckiest man alive, I'm the luckiest woman alive. They seem to attract that look naturally. What happened? Why always me? And you always meet people who, it's sod's law that this has happened to me. becomes like a non-stop cycle, doesn't it? I think for some people.
It does. And this is literally how 95% of people live. They live from their circumstances. They're looking at the circumstances, whatever it may be. And, the circumstances feed back into the mind then feeds back into the physical world. And it's just on repeat. And it's like until you get to that point where you can change your thought processes, change your belief system, change your attitude, nothing will change.
Yeah.
The particular platform that I was, participating in for 3.5 years, like I say, 0 results, absolutely no customers, no enrollments, no team. I reluctantly left that platform after 3.5 years due to some in-house issues that were going on. But from there, I ended up getting started in Forex trading.
Yeah.
I'd seen a few people online who I knew personally who, looks like, and this is the thing with Forex traders, everyone looks like they're doing well.
Yeah.
They'll
never show you the bad charts, will they? They'll never show you the bad losses.
No, most of them don't. I do. I'm happy to say, like, as recently as January, I blew an 11 grand account.
Wow.
Like, I've got absolutely nothing to hide when it comes to the results. Like, I'm happy to show the blues. I'm happy to show the reds. But it's one of those things though where you take yourself with you wherever you go. So I've come from the network marketing space into Forex. Now, what I will say is because with trading, you're not dealing with people. I mean, you are dealing with people, but you're not dealing with them in a face-to-face sales prospecting kind of scenario. But you are ultimately dealing with people in the markets, just on the other end of a phone, making decisions on, where price is going to go, that kind of thing. But I remember in my first week in trading, like, I think I made £30, which is £30 more than what I'd made for the previous 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And from there, I was trying to develop myself as a trader. I feel like a lot of traders, they go through a phase in the beginning where it seems like, oh yeah, this is working. A lot of traders go through like, beginner's luck.
Yeah.
I definitely had that for a few months. And then because you're not emotionally aware of how to handle yourself in the markets and that kind of thing, the market kind of slaps you about a bit, brings you back down to earth. And then you go through this valley of, trying to navigate, you end up moving from strategy to strategy and that kind of thing. And, kind of like, what we were saying earlier, even with trading, that, that's a very, very emotional game.
Absolutely. We had it, I had someone in the other day. I used to trade in Forex. I still trade in crypto now. And I remember when I got into in particular Forex, you don't understand and you don't realize, I think, the emotional attraction, the emotional sort of seesaw that you go through, similar to what you said. I remember, I think one day, I can't remember the full ins and outs of the story. I remember I'd placed the trade, to be blunt, forgot about it a little bit, went out, had dinner. I was seeing this girl at the time, can't remember what, anyway, but, ended up making $500 on that one, profit on that one trade. You're like, fucking hell, this is fucking great. Like, that's a decent amount of money. I'll take that. But then you start to chase those wins and then you make silly decisions. And then also what would then happen is you'd make a loss and then you chase the losses. And it becomes like a very mental, and, I think, I don't know what the official phrase is. I used to go for a lot of like trader's remorse. You'd see a trade and you go, I should have got in on that. Or I shouldn't have cashed, I shouldn't have sold out then. I should have waited a little bit longer. So you kick yourself and then you try and chase after those highs, don't you? So how did you handle those emotions sort of early on, would you say?
That's a good question. And this is the thing, you're always like, even now, I'm just over 6 years into trading, and I'm still learning about myself emotionally. But what I've noticed is I'm not as easily manipulated by the markets as what I used to be. in trading an awful lot of manipulation by the market makers, the banks, the financial institutions. That happens to deliberately gain an emotional reaction from the 95% of traders who are underdeveloped emotionally, to get them to I'll give you an example. Yesterday I was watching. Just for the record, I only trade GBP USD.
Yep.
I only trade one currency pair. And if there's any traders watching, I recommend you find one currency that you're comfortable with and stick with it. I literally don't trade anything else. In fact, the reason I lost that 11 grand in January was because I was trading Bitcoin USD. Right. I don't trade crypto. And, anyway, that's a different story. But I was watching a news release happen yesterday, and what happened was, the market, it shot up very quickly, and news releases, they're the best time for manipulation.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a bank or a financial institution, those are the best times for manipulation, because they send the retail traders into this emotional frenzy where, they see it going, like in this case, it was going up. I held my ground. I was like, no, this ain't going to go up. I can see what's happening. And what happens, it went up like 15, 20 pips, and then it came all the way back down. Exactly where I wanted it to go, because I was already in trades going in that direction. So I was happy to bear a little bit of extra drawdown in order to just hold my position, not get sucked into the market the way I did, or the way I would have done, 3-4 years ago. And just in situations like that, it's just so important to be mentally and emotionally calm. Yeah,
and ground yourself. And and obviously there's some of the questions I do want to ask you about, some failures and your your business life as well. But while we're going on a flow of trading and such, do you think that's why there's, I don't know, there's various factors to this. Do you think that's why there's so many kind of volatility, so much volatility, especially in the crypto market? Because from my experience, especially in like the meme coins, you've got younger generations seeing what happened to Bitcoin, going, oh my God, I'm going to make some money here. They'll see a coin, raise a certain amount of pips, get really excited, sell out, and then next thing you know, the coin's completely gone. Do you feel that's because of that emotional or lack of emotional awareness to trading, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, literally all throughout history, those people at the top, they are through whatever medium it may be, whether it's through marketing, trading, whatever. I like to think that the pandemic or the plandemic, whatever you want to call it, I think that was a very good example of how those who are in control or who have control can manipulate a populace. And in especially in crypto trading, that's very, very true. You get so many meme coins, shit coins, pump and dumps. The pump and dumps make me, I've never participated in one because I understand that that's exactly what they're for. And this is the thing, like you can get lucky, you can make seven figures on a pump and dump. But I believe if you've made that kind of money on a pump and dump, you've not gained any, like you couldn't do it again. Yeah. Because it was ultimately a hit and hope.
It's like winning the lottery.
Exactly. It? It's exactly the same thing. And, if you're in a situation where, you make, 6 figures or 7 figures on something before you've laid that, that inner, foundational groundwork, you're going to lose that 6 or 7 figures very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Because you didn't, like you say, you ultimately got it on a flip of a coin, a lottery win. It wasn't something that you prepared for.
Yeah, you didn't train, you didn't plan, you didn't investigate, research. It happened.
Exactly. You see it all the time. You see so many 22, 23-year-olds who, they're posing in Dubai because of this big chunk of cash that they made on a pump and dump, and then later on they're broke because they weren't able to replicate that.
Yeah.
This is why I believe it's important to, number one, you've got to have a good mental, emotional, and spiritual foundation. Going back to the 3.5 years that I spent in the network marketing space, knowing what I know now, when I finally got the right mentorship 3 years ago, you have to, part of developing that mental, emotional and spiritual framework is being around people who are already successful in that. My mentor, when I first got connected with him, we first met in November 2019, but I didn't actually start working with him until May of 3 years ago. And that was because I was still feeling burned from that 3.5 years of nothingness spent in network marketing. Now, when I met him, I knew straight away it was a network marketing pitch. But then he told me who he was working with. And at the time, he was working with Bob and Linda Proctor. More closely with Linda, but, Bob was still there, within his, sphere of mentorship. And, I knew who Bob Proctor was, from having watched, the movie The Secret when I was, back when I was 18. And as soon as he told me who he was working with, I was like, right, okay, I don't really want to get into network marketing, but I need to listen to what this guy's got to say. Now, we met up a few days later and, I still said no, but I felt so bad walking away from that meeting because I knew he was the right person to work with. But at the same time, it's like I still had this internal struggle of, I don't want to get into network marketing again and that kind of thing. But yeah, it took me 1.5 years to ultimately say yes. But my mentor taught me that, in business, it's not about selling a platform or a product or a service. He says, stop trying to introduce people to a platform and start introducing people to you. And so that's what, a few years ago, that's what I started doing. Because, my first time in network marketing, I was constant. I was selling the company. I was selling the products. I said, oh, you can make this, you can make that, you can travel here, you can travel there. But none of that was answering in the minds of people like, what's in this for me? How are you going to help me? And that, that was also something that kind of aided my downfall, is that I didn't believe I could help people. But then my mentor showed me you don't need to believe that you can help people. Introduce people to a system, to a mentorship group where even if you're not directly helping them, there is somebody who can.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong as well. I do feel like there were a lot of things that I was taught when I was first in my first stint in network marketing that, from a systemic standpoint, was fundamentally wrong. For example, like someone like myself, 22 years old, no personal development, no business background, no skills, shouldn't have been instructed to go out and just, prospect by myself and, just try and make it happen on my own without that support. It's not so much that the support wasn't there, but when I started working with my mentors 3 years ago, this was the support the first time, this was the support the second time. It's like, oh, wow, okay, so yeah, I don't need to be the superstar. I can just bring people to the support. And I think, it's so important to make sure you are, whatever business you're in, whether it's trading, network marketing, regular marketing, that, you're listening to people who have the results that you want. When I started listening to my mentor, who was, working with Bob and Linda Proctor at the time, that was really when things started to change for me. That was when, I started to learn and understand about, the difference between the conscious and the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't realize there was a difference until then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that power of mentorship is really crucial. I mean, Sophia, do you say you've got a mentor?
I do think I have a mentor, actually.
Who would that be?
I think that might be you.
Oh, that was not a genuine
No,
demand.
I think you are. I think you're a fantastic mentor. I think you really are. Oh. I think you're very. You've hit on quite a lot of the points that Tommy has said. You're really big on sort of mind, body, soul. Maybe you're very much, you bring in the energy that you have into the office. You bring that into them, what you're trying to do. Obviously, as you've spoken about communication, that's all we really do. We're sales, we're marketing, but we're sales. That's what the aspects of the business that I'm in. You're selling yourself as much as you're ever selling the product, because what can they hear? They can hear your voice. Yeah. And it all comes through that. And you're very much pushing the fact that you have to be there, pure of heart, selling this product, but you have to have that fully internalized within you. And I think you are a very good mentor for that, because you lead by example.
Thank you. I feel really bad now. I feel like I didn't line that up for a big plug on me.
Look at this. He's always looking to get his shot in, isn't he?
Absolutely. But on that note, I've seen the way from Molly.
We're getting away from Molly.
We'll have a quick minute just so I can just, de-blush and dry a tear from my eyes. And we'll be back after these short messages.
Thank you.
Sophia, as well as being an incredible podcast host, you also work for an incredible company called Paragon Sales Solutions.
I do work for an incredible company, and that company is called Paragon Sales Solutions.
If you were to kind of explain to a complete stranger in a smoking area or, down the park, which happens quite a lot, how would you explain what Paragon do?
Paragon are a fully outsourcing sales and marketing company. They handle everything top to bottom, from telesales, digital marketing, social media management, web design, lead generation, appointment setting. They cover it all.
You hit the nail on the head, really. I couldn't have said
Thank you.
better
Well,
myself.
maybe if I had someone who was, I don't know, perhaps quite senior in that company, they could give me a few more ins and outs on exactly what it is that Paragon do.
Well, I was hoping you would help me, to be honest, because I don't even know half the time. But absolutely, if people were looking for any of those, web design, social media, any kind of marketing or sales, how should they get in touch?
They should contact us on... No, they shouldn't. They can visit www.paragonsalesolutions.co.uk, and they can find all the information they need there, including quick inquiry forms, or they can send us an email to hello@paragonsalesolutions.co.uk again. We are also all over social media. That's where we put a lot of our latest offers and things that we're doing, getting up to, so you can follow us there if you want to see what we're doing. Again, we are Paragon Sales Solutions pretty much everywhere.
There we go, like a pro.
Like
no one will know that we just made that up on the spot. Hey, and welcome back to the How I Failed in Business podcast. So, Tommy, look, there was lots to deep dive into what you said in that kind of first little part there. One thing that I really want to pull apart is personal branding, because that's something that we talk about a lot, both in the business and
with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned that you saw a real difference, or, I think your mentor mentioned the personal branding. I mean, what does personal branding mean to you, and why is it important?
To me, it's about, and to quote what my mentor said, he says, stop introducing people to a product or service and start introducing people to you. It's like, what do you have to offer? How are you going to help somebody? What's your personality? What's your sense of humor? What's your gimmick? The business stuff, that's secondary to, who you are as a person. And, like I say, that was a massive, massive factor in why I was so unsuccessful for so many years, because I thought it was all about, trying to sell the product and the service, but people are looking at me like, nah, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
So, once I started to, this was, this is kind of like part of the physical world stuff. But, my mentor said to me, what you want to be doing is stop trying to put people straight away in front of like a company presentation. Get on a Zoom call with them, find out about them, be interesting. Not interesting. Be interested. Sorry.
And interesting as well, I guess.
Yeah. But this is it. Like, when you're interested in someone, they then think you're interesting, because, everyone's favorite subject is ultimately them. So, when I was, shown how to do this the right way, in terms of connecting with people on a one-to-one level, I'm finding out about them. What do they do? What their goals are, who's helping them towards their goals. Oh, no one, amazing. Like, so you don't have a support system in place. No. Okay. Well, listen, I'm working with some phenomenal people right now. Let me introduce you to who I'm working with. We might be able to help you get to that goal that, you were talking about. So yeah, in all that, I'm not talking about a product, a company, anything like that. I'm talking about how we're going to help you, this person, whoever I'm talking to, get to their goals.
Yeah.
Which is the most important thing. Whatever vehicle you're in, that's just there's so many financial vehicles to drive to help people get to their goals. This is it. To go back to your question, personal branding. It's like I say, it's about selling you, not the platform, the product, the service, the company.
Did you ever struggle with that emotionally? I mean, I'm a big advocate of personal branding. We are sort of, as a business, I know obviously the business has a name, but so do all of us, and we lead by that. But it can also be a bit daunting, because when you're putting yourself at the front, any rejection that you face, you can't sort of say that it was then the company or the thing that got rejected. It feels far more personal because you have put yourself at the forefront. Did you ever struggle with that at all, taking the knockbacks a bit more close to home because you were pushing yourself?
Not really, because by the time I, truly learned and understood that it's about, selling me, branding me, not what I do, at that point, I'd already been rejected thousands and thousands of times. So, but at the same time, that was literally when the results began to come in. And then all of a sudden, because I've changed the way that I'm doing things, selling me instead of the platform, that was when people finally, began to join, what it was that we were doing. And obviously, from there, that then boosted the belief system, which then, magnetically from an emotional standpoint, brings in more people, that kind of thing.
Success.
Exactly. It's like, it's never an upward spiral 100% of the time, but that's how you begin the upward spiral. But I remember, when I did finally start working with my mentor, I was prepared to give it the time that, this time around. I remember it still took me 2.5 months to bring in my first person, but when I did, they started coming in much faster. I still remember, because for years after I got out of network marketing, after the previous bad experience, I developed this belief system that I personally couldn't do that type of business. When I got connected with my mentor, I still didn't believe that I could do it, but based on who I was working with, I believed that my belief could change. So I ended up, I reluctantly said yes to working with with my mentors. But since then, it has literally changed my life. From there, literally learning everything that I learned, from my mentors. I met last year. I ended up getting involved in another platform on the side, and ended up building that platform until it went down in December. Unfortunately, we ended up building that to nearly 17,000 people. Wow. It grew so much in such a short space of time, around 7 months, and learning everything that I'd learned, from my mentors over the last 3 years, I was literally just putting into action. In this, it ultimately started off as a side project and then became a main project. I developed some really good relationships with a lot of phenomenal people who I'm still doing business with now. I developed good leadership skills. What I've come to learn recently is all leadership is influence. If you have influence, people will follow you. But some of the reasons that people will follow you is the best reason for someone to follow you is because of who you are. If people just want to be around you, because, people followed Bob Proctor for who he was. He was Mr. Think and Grow Rich. He could show you how to change your belief systems to get whatever it was you wanted. Right? People follow you if they believe that you can help them solve a problem, that they follow you if they follow you if you're a good person to them. This is all leadership is. It's not, because this is the thing, right? I used to think that leadership was about how you almost like management, how you manage a big team. There is an element of management, of course, but really it just comes down to treating people well, keeping your word, caring about people, putting people first, which is exactly what I did. for 7 months last year, building this side project, which, spiraled into what it did. But yeah, it was really good to, finally see, the fruits of everything that I've been taught, come into fruition.
Yeah. And it looks that way, obviously, it's quite nice because we've never met before, we just kind of connected online. It goes show the power of the internet and so on. And I've done some research. I've looked on your YouTube channel. I've looked on your Instagram, and we'll make sure we kind of tag you in those. You even said yourself, it's been an interesting 12 months. So it sounds like everything's starting to come into fruition now. Everything's going in the right direction, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't already heard there's a story that Les Brown tells about the Chinese bamboo tree, and basically, for this tree to grow properly, it has to be planted and watered every day for 5 years. And it's like if you miss a day, you've got to start the process all over again. So it takes 5 years for this seed just to come through the surface. But then when it does come through the surface, it grows to 100 feet or something like that in 90 days. So I feel like that's kind of like what's happened with me over, the last 8-9 years, under the ground, I'm planted, I'm going through the hardships, I'm going through, the tough times, and all of a sudden, I get watered with the right information, we come through the surface.
Yeah.
Everyone has their time. You can never know when your time is going to come, but if you quit, that's, you might as well just dig up the seed.
Yeah.
You have to have that faith in, yourself, God, the universe, whatever you believe, that as long as you keep moving forwards in the direction that you're trying to get to, that it is eventually going to happen.
Agreed. And I love that. I love Les Brown as well. It ain't over until I win. That's probably one of my favourite YouTube videos. Have you seen that? Oh, yeah.
I like that quote.
Oh, it's really, love it. But Sophia, I'll let Sophia ask the big main killer question we normally ask.
Here we go, the hard hitter. Why we're all here. So we've gathered that you've said you have failed in business, sort of maybe not in the sort of traditional sense, but in the business of you. What would you maybe say? Is there a point where you're like, this was my biggest failing, or was there a sort of domino effect of failings for you? Not to say that you haven't corrected them since, but
it was, it's never, I mean, sometimes it's one thing, in my case, it was, it was many things. It was not having, I mean, if I could go back to the beginning and, start all over again, I might have said this earlier, but I would have worked a lot more on my belief system, because it doesn't matter what business you're in, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you have the wrong belief system, it's very difficult to make progress. I'd say the biggest thing that I've learned over the last 3 years is the number one basic of success, and that's who you listen to. When I first got started in business, I was not listening to people who had the results that I wanted. I wanted 6 and 7 figures. I was listening to people who, were doing 4 figures or 3 figures or no figures. I was trying to, how do you say it? I was trying to build a 7-figure business whilst hanging around 2-cent mines. I would say that was probably the biggest failing. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but for many years I didn't have the right person in my ear to give me that right information. That's the biggest thing, really. You have to, whatever it is that you're going to do, network marketing, trading, crypto, marketing, real estate, you have to be speaking to people who have the results that you want.
Yeah.
And nobody else. I was in business, and I'm trying to talk to friends and family members for advice, and they're not in business. It's like, why am I asking them?
Yeah.
Like, they can't help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like, you know, it took me 7 years just to learn that lesson. 6.5. 6.5 years just to learn that lesson, that you need to have the right people in your ear, and you need to be in the right environment. Agreed.
I think it was Jim Rohn, wasn't it, who said, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, aren't you? And I look back to when I started the business. If I'd have asked any of my friends and family, hey, look, should I start this business? They'd have always said, no, just get a better job. Go try and win the lottery this weekend. You'll make it. You know, it's a very big risk. And like I say, you can end up very quickly taking advice from the wrong people who haven't been there and done that, really. But look, I mean, we could probably speak for another hour or two, and we probably may have to get you back in for a second episode, really, because I think there's a lot, you know, I want to dig deeper in and stuff. And look, maybe we'll kind of travel up to Nottingham and take the kit with us. We can find a nice place to record up there, maybe. But I mean, look, in terms of, you know, people staying connected with you, people kind of continuing to follow you, how's best for them to find you? Where are you?
So I'm on YouTube under The Wealth Circle, and I'm on Instagram at _ginger_abroad_.
That's fine. We'll make sure we
have
tag
that all
those.
linked down below, so you'll have easy access to that. We will also be linked down below.
We will.
How I Failed in Business podcast, pretty much everywhere that you want to find us.
You can't escape us.
Really can't. We're making sure of it. But you found us now, so why not stick around and see what we've got to offer. And the same for Tommy. Check him out. And until next time, this has been How I Failed in Business. Bye.
All the best.